What started as a viral love story ended in a way no one could have imagined. November 6, 2021, a quiet night in an upscale neighborhood shattered by the crack of gunfire. Within moments, a life was stolen and another was about to end. By the time authorities arrived, the truth was undeniable. This wasn't just another domestic dispute. It was something far worse. This isn't just another tragic love story. It's a nightmare that played out for millions to see. They had it all, or so it seemed. A picture-perfect love story broadcasted to thousands. They were the kind of couple that made others envious. Flawless smiles, inspirational speeches, a thriving business built on the idea of success and togetherness. But in the end, success couldn't save them, because behind the motivational posts and carefully curated videos was a relationship unraveling into something dark, something deadly. They weren't just partners in life, they were business partners, social media influencers, entrepreneurs. Together they crafted an image of love and ambition, of a couple who had cracked the code to happiness. But appearances can be deceiving. No one knew what was truly happening behind the closed doors of their luxury home. And then, one night, it all came crashing down. The police report would later paint a grim picture, a violent outburst, a fatal gunshot, and a final act of despair. But by then it was too late. The people who had once inspired thousands were now the center of a chilling tragedy, one that left the internet reeling and their followers questioning everything they thought they knew. Their names were Kiana and Ronell Burns. To their audience, they were the embodiment of success, a couple who built their fortune together, shared their wisdom, and encouraged others to chase their dreams. They had recently moved to Georgia, eager to expand their empire. New city, new opportunities, a fresh start. But underneath the surface, something wasn't right. 2 weeks before the tragedy, Kiana went live on Facebook. Her usual confidence was gone. She spoke about feeling overwhelmed, about struggling with the move, about how hard it was to keep pushing forward. It was raw, unfiltered, nothing like the motivational videos she and Ronell had posted before. She pleaded for prayers, but at the time, no one knew just how much she was struggling. What happened next turned their story from one of inspiration to one of horror, the kind of horror that forces people to reconsider the truth behind social media relationships. How much do we really know about the people we follow? How much is real and how much is just for show? Kiana and Ronell's story is not unique. They weren't the first TikTok couple whose seemingly perfect relationship ended in bloodshed, and they wouldn't be the last. Because as long as social media rewards illusion over reality, these tragedies will keep happening. The signs are often there, hidden in plain sight. A sudden shift in tone, a cryptic post, an unspoken plea for help. But by the time the world realizes what's really happening, it's always too late. This is the horrifying case of TikTok couples so toxic they ended up killing each other. Starting this tragic case is Jessica Edwards. From the outside, Jessica Edwards and Taj Hutchinson appeared to have what many young couples dream of: a new marriage, a growing family, and a future full of promise. Jessica, a 30-year-old mother from South Windsor, Connecticut, had recently welcomed her first child, a 7-month-old son, with her 22-year-old husband, Taj. They had built a life together, sharing the joys and challenges of parenthood while navigating the realities of marriage. But what the world saw was only the surface. On TikTok, Jessica and Taj presented themselves as a loving couple, often posting snippets of their life that made their relationship appear affectionate and stable. Their content wasn't as widespread as some of the bigger TikTok couples, but within their circle they seemed to resonate with viewers. Their posts featured the milestones of a young marriage, Jessica sharing moments of motherhood, Taj appearing in playful videos, the two of them smiling for the camera as if everything was perfect. But behind the screen, there were tensions that no filter could hide forever. Those closest to Jessica began to notice subtle changes in her demeanor. She wasn't the same bright, optimistic woman they had always known. Motherhood had brought her immeasurable joy, but there was something else, something unspoken. It was in the way her smiles faded a little too quickly, the way her social media presence became inconsistent, and the way her once enthusiastic posts about her relationship started to dwindle. There were warning signs, ones that might have seemed small at the time, but in hindsight painted a much darker picture. Friends later recalled that Jessica had spoken about struggles in her marriage, the kind of struggles that didn't belong in a TikTok video, arguments that started over minor things but escalated into something more concerning. moments of tension that made her feel uneasy. But like so many others in relationships that take a toxic turn, she tried to manage it. She tried to make it work. But not all love stories end with a happy resolution. On May 10, 2021, Jessica Edwards was reported missing. At first there was confusion. Jessica wasn't the type to just vanish. She was a dedicated mother, someone who always made sure her responsibilities came first. For her to suddenly disappear without a trace? It didn't make sense. Her family, desperate for answers, immediately contacted the authorities. Jessica's mother knew something was wrong. She knew her daughter wouldn't have left her baby behind voluntarily, and if Jessica wasn't answering her phone, if she wasn't coming home, something was terribly wrong. Taj's response only added to the growing concerns. He told investigators that Jessica had left their home that morning after an argument and never returned, but his account felt incomplete. Jessica's loved ones knew that if she had left, she would have reached out to someone. She wouldn't have just walked away from everything, especially not from her son. As the hours stretched into days, the search for Jessica intensified. Flyers were posted, search teams combed through neighborhoods, and the community came together, hoping for her safe return. But with each passing day, hope began to wane. And then the discovery came. 2 weeks after she vanished, Jessica's body was found in a wooded area in East Hartford. The news sent shockwaves through the community. The young mother who had been so full of life was gone, her story ending in the most tragic way imaginable. The medical examiner's report was chilling. Jessica had died from compression of the torso and neck, a brutal and deliberate act. There was no accident, no misunderstanding. Someone had taken her life, and all eyes turned to Taj Hutchinson. The truth unraveled quickly. Taj was arrested and charged with first-degree manslaughter. In his confession, he claimed that a domestic dispute had escalated to violence, that he had caused her death in the heat of the moment, but that explanation didn't ease the horror of what had happened. A young woman, a mother, had been taken from the world, her life cut short by the very person who had once promised to love her. Their son, the baby Jessica had adored, was left without a mother. He was placed under the care of Jessica's family, a tragic reminder of everything she had lost. Jessica Edwards' story is not just a crime, it is a warning. A reminder that what we see on social media is never the full story, that behind the curated posts and smiling faces there can be pain, fear, and danger. Her case highlighted the devastating consequences of unresolved conflict, of violence that escalates when help isn't sought in time. Jessica should have had the chance to walk away, to find safety, to continue raising her son, but instead she became another name on a growing list of women who never got that chance. And the most chilling part? She was not the only one. Because Jessica's story is just one of many, and as tragic as it is, there are others, other couples whose relationships turned toxic, whose love stories ended in the most horrifying way possible. And the next one? It's just as haunting. At first glance, Winter End's Straw appeared to embody the essence of joy and vitality. Her TikTok videos showcased a young woman full of life, sharing dance routines, humorous skits, and heartfelt moments that resonated with her growing audience. Her radiant smile and infectious energy painted a picture of a life filled with happiness and promise. In many of her posts, Winter was joined by her boyfriend, Renardo S. Johnson. Together they crafted content that many would envy. Playful challenges, romantic gestures, and glimpses into their shared experiences. Their chemistry was undeniable, and their followers quickly dubbed them as the epitome of couple goals. To the outside world, their relationship seemed like a modern-day fairy tale, a perfect blend of love and companionship, broadcasted for all to see. However, as is often the case with social media, the curated content only told part of the story. Beneath the surface of their seemingly idyllic relationship lay complexities and struggles that were hidden from their online audience. Friends and family later revealed that while Winter and Renardo shared genuine affection, their relationship was also marked by challenges and disagreements that were never showcased on their public platforms. Winter, a 25-year-old from Columbia, South Carolina, was more than just a social media personality. She was a dedicated mental health officer with the Department of Corrections and an active member of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority. Her commitment to her community and her aspirations painted the picture of a young woman with a promising future. Renardo, at 27, had his own set of ambitions and challenges, though details about his personal and professional life remain less publicized. As their online presence grew, so did the pressures that came with maintaining the image of a perfect couple. The need to constantly present a harmonious relationship may have added strain, making it difficult to address underlying issues away from the public eye. The line between their online personas and real-life dynamics began to blur, creating a facade that was challenging to uphold. On March 26, 2023, the carefully constructed image shattered. Authorities responded to reports of a shooting at an apartment complex on Mallet Hill Road. Upon arrival, they discovered Winter's lifeless body outside the building, the victim of a fatal gunshot wound. The vibrant young woman who had once danced and laughed on countless screens was now the center of a tragic narrative. Inside the apartment, Renardo had barricaded himself, leading to a tense standoff with law enforcement that lasted several hours. Despite attempts at negotiation, the situation ended when officers heard a single gunshot from within. Renardo was found with a self-inflicted gunshot wound and was pronounced dead shortly after being transported to a hospital. The news sent shockwaves through their community and online following. Many struggled to reconcile the joyful couple they had come to know with the grim reality that had unfolded. Winter's mother expressed her profound grief and disbelief, highlighting the stark contrast between the man she thought she knew and the actions that led to her daughter's death. In the aftermath, discussions about domestic violence and the pressures of maintaining a flawless online persona came to the forefront. Winter's story serves as a poignant reminder that behind curated content, individuals may be facing battles unknown to their audience. It underscores the importance of looking beyond the screen and recognizing the complexities of human relationships, urging society to offer support and intervention when signs of distress emerge. As we reflect on Winter and Renardo's story, we're compelled to question the narratives we consume and the realities they may conceal. It's a sobering testament to the fact that appearances, especially in the digital age, can be deceiving, and that real lives, with all their intricacies, lie beyond the filters and hashtags. This tragedy serves as a stark reminder of the potential consequences when the facade of perfection overshadows the need for genuine connection and understanding. And just when the internet thought they had seen the darkest side of social media love stories, another tragedy struck. Kiana and Ronell Burns had what seemed to be the perfect life. They weren't just a married couple. They were business partners, motivational speakers, and the faces of a growing empire. Online, they were known for their success stories, their faith, and their love for each other. Followers looked up to them, inspired by the way they balanced entrepreneurship, marriage, and parenting. Their social media pages were filled with smiling photos, uplifting messages, and posts about their journey, proof, at least to the outside world, that they had it all figured out. But the reality behind those carefully curated posts was much more complicated. Their move from St. Louis to Atlanta was supposed to be the next big step for their family and business. They had dreams of expanding their empire, making new connections, and taking their brand to the next level, but behind the scenes it wasn't as smooth as they made it seem. Moving to a new city with 8 children was a challenge in itself, but there were also unspoken struggles, financial pressures, marital stress, and the overwhelming burden of maintaining their public image. Kiana, known for her positivity and strength, started showing signs that all wasn't well. About 2 weeks before the tragedy, she went on Facebook Live, not as the confident entrepreneur her followers were used to seeing, but as a woman visibly struggling. Her words were raw, vulnerable. She talked about feeling overwhelmed, about the mental and emotional toll of the move, about how much she needed prayer. "I need strength, I need love, pray for me," she said, her voice filled with something her followers weren't used to: pain. To those watching, it may have seemed like just a moment of weakness, something she would push through like she always did. After all, she and Ronell had built their brand on perseverance. But that live video was a warning. And in hindsight, it was one that should have been taken more seriously. On November 6, 2021, everything fell apart. Inside their Sandy Springs home, behind the walls that had once been filled with laughter and the sounds of a bustling family, something unthinkable happened. By the time authorities arrived, both Kiana and Ronell were gone. Police reports would later confirm the grim reality. Kiana had shot Ronell before turning the gun on herself. Their 8 children weren't home at the time, a small mercy in the face of an unimaginable tragedy. News of their death spread quickly, sending shockwaves through their community and beyond. How could this happen? How could a couple that so many people admired, a couple that seemed to have everything, end like this? People began looking back at their social media posts, searching for signs they had missed. That last video of Kiana dancing with her daughter, smiling like nothing was wrong. Was it a final attempt to hold on to some sense of normalcy? The Facebook Live where she asked for prayers. Was it her way of reaching out for help one last time? The questions were endless and the answers were haunting. Friends and family came forward with their own recollections, piecing together the moments leading up to that night. Some recalled tensions between the couple that had been building over time. Others spoke about the pressures they faced, financial stress, the weight of expectations, the reality of being seen as role models when behind closed doors, they were struggling just like anyone else. And then there was the pressure of social media itself. Kiana and Ronell weren't just living their lives, they were performing them. Their relationship wasn't just personal, it was content. Their love story was their brand. And when your brand is built on the image of a perfect marriage, what happens when the cracks begin to show? It's easy to post the good moments, the anniversary tributes, the vacations, the smiling family photos. But what about the arguments, the disappointments, the doubts? In a world where success and happiness are carefully curated for likes and engagement, there's little room for imperfection. And maybe that's part of what made this story so devastating, because for so long Kiana and Ronell seemed like proof that love and business could thrive together, that a couple could have it all. But in the end, they became another tragic reminder that appearances can be deceiving. Their deaths left behind more than just grief. They left behind a conversation, one about mental health, about the hidden struggles of those who seem to have it all, and about the cost of living a life that isn't entirely your own. But even with all the discussions, all the analysis, one truth remains. 2 lives were lost, 8 children were left without their parents, and a love story that once seemed unbreakable ended in the most heartbreaking way possible. Social media has created a world where perception often outweighs reality. People present their best selves, flawless relationships, thriving businesses, extravagant lifestyles, while concealing the struggles that exist behind the scenes. The cases of Winter Straw and Javon Lemke, Ronell and Kiana Burns, and countless others reveal a disturbing truth. When the illusion of perfection becomes a prison, the consequences can be devastating. Winter and Javon's love story appeared straight out of a modern-day fairy tale. They showcased their romance through playful TikToks, couple challenges, and picture-perfect moments that suggested a bond full of joy and devotion. But beneath that facade, their relationship was unraveling in ways their followers never suspected. The warning signs, the subtle tension, the unspoken conflicts were masked behind carefully curated content. And then, without warning, tragedy struck, leaving the internet stunned and searching for answers. The Burnses were no different. Their marriage was not just a union, it was a brand. They sold the dream of love, business success, and personal growth, crafting an image of a power couple who had it all figured out. Their followers admired them, sought inspiration from their words, and aspired to mirror their journey. But behind closed doors, the struggles they hid proved too much to bear. Kiana's emotional Facebook Live was a brief glimpse into her reality, but it was quickly drowned out by the pressure to maintain their public image. When the news of their death surfaced, it shattered the illusion they had so carefully built. These cases, though separate, share a chilling pattern. People so deeply invested in maintaining an online persona that their real-life problems became secondary, ignored until they spiraled out of control. The pressure to keep up appearances, to perform for an audience that only sees what they're allowed to see, becomes suffocating. And when the truth can no longer be contained, the fallout is often tragic. But the illusion of perfection isn't just damaging to those who create it, it's equally dangerous for those who consume it. Social media fosters parasocial relationships, where followers develop deep emotional connections with influencers and couples they've never met. They see these relationships unfold in real time, engage with them daily, and feel as if they are part of their lives. When Winter and Javon posted a romantic video, their fans swooned over their love. When the Burnses gave business advice, their followers took notes, believing they too could achieve that level of success. The problem is that these relationships are one-sided. Viewers only see the polished version, never the full reality. And when that illusion is shattered, the effects ripple through their audience. Followers are left confused, heartbroken, and sometimes even in denial. They struggle to reconcile the perfection they believed in with the darkness that was hidden beneath it. The reality is, social media doesn't just encourage perfection, it demands it. Engagement thrives on aspiration, on the idea that if you just follow the right steps, you too can have a picture-perfect love story, a thriving business, a flawless life, but it's a dangerous fantasy. The tragic deaths of these couples serve as a wake-up call, a reminder that social media is not real life, that behind every viral post, every inspirational speech, every affectionate video, there are struggles that no filter can erase. It raises a critical question. How many more influencers, couples, and public figures are silently suffering under the weight of an image they can't maintain? And how many more will it take before people stop blindly believing everything they see online? At what point do we start valuing authenticity over aesthetics, reality over illusion? Because as long as social media continues to reward perfection, people will keep chasing it, even when it costs them everything.